At every family dinner, it was the same question: so? Are you still writing those little articles? My cousin Eduardo worked in finance. My brother-in-law ran a construction company. My aunt loved introducing everyone by their job titles, and this is Camila, she'd say, smiling politely. She writes for the news. Writes for the news, like I was journaling in a diary instead of breaking national stories. I worked 14-hour days at Metroline Media, fact-checking, chasing sources, rewriting headlines at midnight when legal flagged a single word. I covered corruption cases, natural disasters, election fraud investigations, but to my family? I was just a news writer. No corner office.no flashy salary.no impressive title, just bylines. The day everything shifted 2 years into my job, Metroline was struggling. Ad revenue had collapsed. Viewership was down. Senior leadership rotated out like a broken door. Rumors of a buyout spread through the newsroom. Then came the email, emergency staff meeting, mandatory attendance. The air felt thick that morning. Whispers bounced between desks: private equity takeover, mass layoffs. They're replacing half the newsroom. When I walked into the auditorium, the executive team was already seated. Or what was left of it. The chairman of the board stepped to the podium. As many of you know, Metroline has been undergoing restructuring. Effective immediately, our current CEO has stepped down. Gasps. My stomach tightened. Then he said something no one expected. After a unanimous board vote, we are appointing a new CEO, someone who understands this newsroom from the inside. The screen behind him lit up. A name appeared in bold white letters: Camila Rocha, Chief Executive Officer. For a moment, I didn't move. I thought it was a mistake. Then, every head in the room turned toward me. The truth: no one knew what my family didn't know, what most of the newsroom didn't know, was that I wasn't just writing stories. I had an MBA I earned at night. I had quietly advised the board during the revenue crisis after one of my investigative pieces uncovered internal inefficiencies in ad allocation. That investigation saved the company millions. The chairman approached me directly 3 months later. We need someone who understands journalism, he'd said, and business. I thought he meant strategy consulting. He meant succession planning. For 6 months, I attended confidential board meetings after my reporting shifts ended. No one noticed. Reporters are invisible when they choose to be. The announcement when I walked onto the stage. The room felt unreal. I could see my editor, mouth slightly open. My colleague Priya was crying. I know this is unexpected, I began. But Metroline doesn't need another executive who sees journalism as a product. It needs leadership that sees it as a responsibility. Applause built slowly, then loudly, because I wasn't an outsider. I was one of them. Family dinner. Rewritten that Sunday, we had dinner at my aunt's house again, same table, same questions. Eduardo started first. So, how's the writing going? I smiled. It's going well. My brother-in-law chuckled. Still at that small network? Before I could answer, my cousin looked up from his phone. Wait. Is this you? He turned the screen toward the table. There it was. A business headline: Metroline appoints investigative journalist Camila Rocha as new CEO. Silence, utter silence. My aunt blinked. CEO? Yes, I said calmly. As of Monday. My brother-in-law laughed awkwardly. Like, interim? No. Full appointment. Eduardo straightened in his chair. That's impressive. Impressive. The same people who once dismissed my career now studied me like a new species. What does a CEO even do at a news company? My aunt asked carefully. I leaned back. I decide what stories matter. The real plot twist. 6 months into my leadership, Metroline's ratings climbed. We cut sensationalist fluff and reinvested in investigative journalism. We launched digital subscriptions that tripled revenue. Advertisers returned, not because we were loud, but because we were trusted. At an industry conference, I was invited to speak on the future of media leadership. As I stepped onto the stage, I saw familiar faces in the audience. My family, front row. They had flown in after seeing my name on the event lineup. After my speech, my aunt hugged me tightly. We always knew you were talented, she said. I smiled politely. No, they didn't, and that was okay, because this was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving that the quiet roles, the underestimated ones, often carry the sharpest minds. They called me just a news writer. What they didn't understand was simple. Writers shape narratives, and sometimes, they end up running the entire network. The first crisis hit on my 12th day as CEO. It wasn't financial. It wasn't legal. It was personal. A trending hashtag began climbing at 9:14 a.m. #Nepotism Network. By 10:03 a.m., it was number 3 nationwide. By noon, advertisers were calling. The narrative spreading online was simple and brutal: unknown writer suddenly becomes CEO? Board corruption. I stood inside the executive conference room watching the social sentiment dashboard spike red. This was my first real test. Not of leadership. Of control. The leak at 1:17 p.m., my chief legal officer rushed in. There's more. He handed me a tablet. An anonymous blog had published internal board meeting screenshots. Blurry. But real. And worse, selectively cropped. It looked like I had lobbied for the CEO position months before the public announcement. The article framed it as ambition disguised as humility. As manipulation. As a calculated takeover. My stomach tightened. I had attended board meetings. But at their invitation. Quietly. Strategically. Now it looked like conspiracy. Who had access to those files? I asked. Only senior board members, he replied. Which meant one thing. This wasn't random. This was intentional. The board fracture that evening, I called an emergency board session. The energy was different now. Less celebratory. More cautious. I assume you've all seen the leak, I began. Silence. Then one member cleared his throat. This perception problem could destabilize advertiser confidence. Perception? I asked evenly. Or betrayal? No one answered. Because we all understood what wasn't being said. Someone in that room leaked it. And they expected me to fail. A transitional CEO. A symbolic appointment. A temporary experiment. I wasn't supposed to hold power long enough to threaten anyone's control. The real story they didn't expect that night, I made a decision most executives would never make. Instead of issuing a polished PR statement, I went live. Unscripted. No teleprompter. Just me and a camera in the newsroom. Good evening, I began calmly. You may have seen rumors questioning how I became CEO. I didn't deny the board meetings. I didn't pretend innocence. I told the truth. I was invited to consult because my investigative reporting uncovered financial inefficiencies that saved this company millions. I displayed documentation. Redacted appropriately. Verified numbers. Timelines. I did not ask to become CEO. I was asked to step in when the previous leadership resigned. Transparency. Total. Complete. Risky. But powerful. Within hours, something shifted. The hashtag stalled. Journalists from competing networks began defending the move publicly. Not because they loved me, but because they respected the method. Truth. Family reactions. Round 2 that weekend, my phone buzzed nonstop. Cousins. Uncles. Even distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Are you okay? Is this scandal serious? Should we be worried? Funny. When I was just a news writer, no one worried about the threats I received covering corruption stories. But now that my name carried CEO next to it, they panicked. Eduardo called late Sunday. Listen, he said cautiously, if this gets messy, stepping down early might protect your reputation. There it was. The old assumption. That I wasn't built for storms. I leaned back in my chair. Eduardo, I said calmly, I've investigated organized crime syndicates. Silence. I think I can handle Twitter. The internal war what the public didn't see was harder. Some senior executives resented me. Not openly. But subtly. Meetings where my proposals were re-evaluated. Budget approvals delayed. Whispers about my lack of executive presence. One afternoon, my COO approached me privately. You need to assert authority more aggressively, he said. I don't lead through intimidation, I replied. You might have to. I smiled faintly. They expect me to overcompensate. He paused. And I won't. Because here was the truth no one talked about. Women in leadership are often tested not on competence, but on reaction. If I became cold, I'd be labeled ruthless. If I stayed composed, I'd be labeled weak. So I chose something else. Precision. The counterstrike. Instead of fighting personalities, I focused on performance. Within 3 months, we launched a premium investigative digital subscription tier, a behind-the-scenes journalist transparency series, a data-backed misinformation tracker partnership. Revenue increased 18%. Engagement doubled. Subscriber churn dropped. Numbers silence critics faster than emotion ever can. The same board member who once questioned my experience congratulated me publicly during a shareholder update. I nodded politely. I never forget who doubts me. But I don't waste energy proving them wrong. I prove them irrelevant. The biggest twist yet. 6 months into my tenure, another bombshell hit. But this time, it came from me. During a routine internal audit, our compliance team uncovered something disturbing. The previous CEO had approved undisclosed sponsorship influence on 2 political segments. Not illegal, but ethically blurred. And hidden. If exposed by someone else, it could destroy Metroline. The board wanted to handle it quietly. Internal correction. Success is loud, but grief is silent. 2 years into my role as CEO, and newly appointed board chair, Metroline was stronger than ever. Revenue stable, trust ratings at historic Highs, industry awards lining the lobby. From the outside, it looked like I had conquered every room that once doubted me, but the most devastating story of my life was about to begin, and this time, I wouldn't be reporting it from a safe distance. The call, it was 2:37 a.m. when my phone rang, unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the voicemail notification light up. Instantly, something in my chest tightened. I pressed play. Ms. Rocha? This is St. Gabriel's Hospital. Your father has been admitted after a cardiac event. The room went still. My father, the same man who once told relatives, "She likes writing, it's a phase." The same man who avoided discussing my career because he didn't understand it. The same man who never said he was proud that I was on the first flight home by 5 o'clock a.m. The hospital room. Hospitals have a specific smell, sterile, heavy, unforgiving. When I walked into his room, he looked smaller. Machines beeped steadily beside him. My mother sat quietly in the corner. "He asked for you," she whispered. I stepped closer to the bed. His eyes opened slowly. "Camila," he said weakly, "I'm here." He studied my face like he was memorizing it. "You look important," he murmured faintly. I almost laughed through the tears. "I'm still just your daughter." His lips curved slightly. "Not just anything." It was the first time he had ever said something like that, and it shattered me. The hidden truth. Later that afternoon, a doctor pulled me aside. "It wasn't just a heart attack," he said carefully. "There are underlying complications. Serious ones. Life-altering ones. My father would survive, but he would never fully recover." And as I sat in that hospital hallway, something hit me harder than the diagnosis. For years, I chased proving myself to people who didn't understand my ambition, but I never stopped to understand them either. My father worked 30 years in construction, long hours, broken hands, silent sacrifices. To him, news writer, sounded fragile, temporary, unstable. He didn't mock me. He feared for me, and he never knew how to say that. The story I almost missed. Back at Metroline, another crisis was unfolding. A whistleblower had contacted our investigative desk with explosive information about a pharmaceutical corporation hiding clinical trial data. It was massive, the kind of story that defines a network's legacy, but it required weeks of deep investigation, legal risk, financial exposure, and I was supposed to lead it, except I was in a hospital room, watching my father relearn how to grip a spoon. For the first time since becoming CEO, I hesitated. Could I lead a newsroom while sitting beside a hospital bed? Could I break a billion-dollar scandal while processing personal grief? I called my executive team into a virtual meeting. "I'm temporarily delegating oversight of the investigation," I said calmly. There was silence. "You're stepping back?" my COO asked. "For now." That decision terrified me because stepping back felt like weakness, but then something unexpected happened. My newsroom didn't fracture. It rose. The team I built led the investigative unit with surgical precision. Our legal department worked overnight shifts. Junior reporters volunteered for background research. No power struggle, just mission. I watched from my father's hospital room as drafts flowed through encrypted channels. For the first time, I wasn't the one holding the pen, and it didn't fall apart. It thrived. That's when I realized something profound. Leadership isn't about being indispensable. It's about building something that survives without you in the room. The emotional reversal. 3 weeks into recovery, my father asked for a laptop. "Work," he said. "You need to rest." He shook his head weakly. "I want to see." I opened Metroline's homepage. The headline filled the screen: "Pharma giant exposed. Hidden trial data reveals. Patient harm by Camila Rocha and investigative team." His eyes widened. "That's you," he whispered. "It's the team." I corrected. He studied the article slowly, every paragraph, every statistic. When he finished, his hands trembled slightly. "This is why you do it?" "Yes." "To protect people?" "Yes." He swallowed hard. I thought writing was soft. I smiled gently. "It's sharp." Tears filled his eyes. I didn't understand. And in that moment, I didn't need him to, because he was trying. The public shockwave. The pharmaceutical story detonated across the industry. Congressional hearings, regulatory investigations, stock collapse of the exposed corporation. Metroline's credibility soared to historic levels. Industry analysts credited bold leadership. They had no idea that bold leadership sometimes looks like answering emails from a hospital chair. Or trusting your team when you can't physically stand at the helm. The ultimate twist. 6 months later, my father insisted on attending an awards gala where Metroline was receiving a National Investigative Journalism Prize. He walked slowly, supported, but determined. When my name was announced on stage, I helped him stand. The applause thundered, but I barely heard it, because as I stepped up to the microphone, I saw him in the front row clapping, proud, publicly. "For the first time in my life, this award," I said into the mic, Voice steady but full, belongs to a newsroom that understands. Responsibility. I paused, and to the people who taught us resilience, even when they didn't have the words for it. He wiped his eyes. So did I. The final reversal months later. My father asked something that caught me off guard. Can I visit your newsroom? When he walked through Metroline's glass doors, staff recognized him instantly. Mr. Rocha. They greeted him like family, because I had spoken about him, about where I came from, about hard work that doesn't carry titles. He stopped in front of a framed display in the lobby. My first published article, small, modest. A byline no one noticed at the time. He read it carefully. You were never just anything, he said quietly, and suddenly, the entire journey, from family dinners to boardrooms to hospital nights, collapsed into one overwhelming realization. The Reviravolta wasn't professional. It was personal. I didn't need the world to understand my ambition. I needed the people I loved to see my heart. The last scene. 2 years later, Metroline launched a foundation for investigative journalism. Scholarships. We named it after someone unexpected, not a famous anchor, not a historic journalist, but my father, for perseverance, for sacrifice, for teaching me that strength doesn't always come wrapped in praise. At the launch ceremony, he stood beside me, stronger now, health stable, proud beyond words. As cameras flashed, he leaned toward me and whispered, "They used to call you just a writer." I smiled. "What do they call me now?" He squeezed my hand. "They call you the one who changes headlines." And this time, that was more than enough. Success changes how the world speaks to you. But it also reveals who you were long before the applause. 3 years after becoming CEO, and 2 after becoming board chair, Metroline stood at the top of the industry. Record trust ratings, global partnerships, investigations that shaped legislation. From the outside, it looked like a perfectly written arc. Underrated writer, unexpected CEO, respected leader. But the final chapter wasn't about headlines. It was about silence. The decision no one expected. One Monday morning, I called an executive meeting that no one saw coming. "I'm stepping down as CEO at the end of the quarter," I announced. The room froze. My COO blinked. "You're resigning?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm returning." "To what?" I smiled. "To reporting." Confusion rippled across the table. "Why would you give up this position?" Someone asked carefully. "You've built something historic." "Yes," I replied. "And it no longer needs me at the top." That was the truth. The systems were strong. The leadership pipeline was ready. The culture was stable. Metroline didn't need a hero anymore. It needed continuity. And I missed the field. I missed notebooks filled with raw quotes. I missed the tension of chasing a story. I missed being close to truth before it became polished. Power had taught me something unexpected. Influence doesn't always sit in the biggest chair. Sometimes it sits in the first draft. The announcement. When the news broke publicly, reactions were explosive. Why would a successful CEO step down voluntarily? Is there internal conflict? Is she being pushed out? There was no scandal. No forced exit. Just choice. In my public statement, I said, leadership is not about holding power indefinitely. It's about knowing when your role shifts. Metroline taught me that stories shape the world. I'm ready to shape them again. The reaction was divided. Some called it courageous. Others called it foolish. But I didn't feel either. I felt aligned. The return. My first day back in the newsroom felt surreal. No executive assistant. No corner office. Just a desk. A laptop. And a fresh assignment. A housing corruption case that required weeks of ground reporting. As I walked past staff members, I saw something different in their eyes. Not intimidation. Not distance. Respect. Not for the title I held. But for the choice I made. Priya stopped by my desk. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. "Yes." She smiled. "Welcome back." The family dinner, one last time that Sunday, we gathered again at my aunt's house. The same dining table. The same chairs. But the energy had changed permanently. "So," Eduardo began cautiously, "you're not CEO anymore?" "Correct." Silence. "Is that okay?" I laughed gently. "I didn't lose anything. I chose something." My father spoke before anyone else could. "She runs companies when she wants," he said calmly. "And she writes when she wants." The table went quiet. That was the shift. Not their admiration. Not their pride. Their understanding. They no longer saw hierarchy. They saw purpose. The final headline. Months later, I published an investigative piece that triggered nationwide housing reform legislation. No CEO signature. No board influence. Just reporting. The byline read simply, Camila Rocha. That night, I walked through Metroline's lobby alone. The framed timeline still displayed my years as CEO. Awards glowed behind glass. But what made me stop wasn't the recognition. It was the small framed article from years ago, my very first piece. The one written before anyone knew my name. Before anyone doubted it. Before anyone applauded it. I realized something then. The greatest reviravolta of my life wasn't becoming CEO. It wasn't proving my family wrong. It wasn't industry recognition. It was understanding that my worth was never attached to title. They once called me just a news writer. And now? I am still a news writer. Just one who knows the weight of power, the cost of integrity, and the freedom of choosing her own headline. And that is the ending I would write every time,